It sounded sarcastic. It was not sarcastic.
Didn't
I
sound
love
like
this.
it.
Sixers
Really
have a
didn't
Ben
sound
Simmons problem. Should they trade him this offseason? That was a serious question. And Tom Brady has words for a team that passed on him as a free agent. Which quarterback did he call out? I don't know. Probably Mahomes. Who knows? I want to welcome to First Things First. We have a tremendous show for you this morning. Our guy Brandon having a few technical difficulties, so we're going to keep running a little Tom Brady video. The GOAT, Nick. Nick loves it when we start a show with Tom Brady.
Hey, lucky for us.
I'm about to have some technical
Lucky
difficulties.
for us.
It's
Lucky
about to be Wilds and Jim.
All right.
Just the two of y'all.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, don't threaten that, Nick. Might come true. Our great show. Our top story this morning is the NBA's top story tonight. Can't wait for it. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. Clippers and Suns. Clippers already down a game in the series. Now they're down a superstar as well. No Kawhi Leonard again, as he still nurses that knee. But Paul George has really stepped up to help that team out. As for the Suns, no Chris Paul. Can Devin Booker take over again tonight like he did in Game 1? I'll start with you, Nick. Big game for the Clippers. So a loss will put them down 0-2 again. They came back twice already from 0-2 deficits these playoffs. Can they afford to do it again against a team playing as well as the Phoenix Suns right now?
Well, it'd be foolish for me to say that if they go down 0-2, the series is over, because we obviously saw them go down 0-2 against Luka and then win 4 of the next 5. We saw them go down 0-2 against the team with the best record in basketball and then win 4 straight games. However, I do think Phoenix all around is a far better team than Dallas, which is a one-man show, and then Utah, which is proven year in, year out, is a regular season team, not a playoff team. So I think this would be their hardest challenge, and much like the Utah series would be a challenge where they don't have home court advantage. So I wouldn't write them off, but it would be the steepest hill to climb. And here's the bigger issue, though, Wilds, for the Clippers. If you go back and rewatch Game 1, I don't know how much better they can play. They didn't lose that game because they played poorly. They lost that game because Phoenix was better. Paul George was excellent in that game. Paul George could have attacked a little bit more, maybe done a little more outside of three-point line, but he was still very good, even if he was somewhat inefficient. The Clippers hit 20 threes in that basketball game. They made more free throws than the Suns. They only had 9 turnovers. Yeah, listen, Marcus Morris could have played better, but you don't look at Game 1 and say, oh, here's what Los Angeles did wrong, this is why they lost. You look at Game 1 and say, this is why Phoenix has not lost since May 27th. Do you remember the game, Wilds, when LeBron was clowning Jay Crowder and you had Andre Drummond do the pantomiming on the sideline? That's the last game the Suns lost. It's been nearly a month of playoff basketball. And so I think going down 0-2 to a team that right now through these playoffs has looked like clearly the best team in the playoffs, and if you don't consider Chris Paul's issue an injury, they are the healthiest team in these playoffs, particularly when they get Chris Paul back. So tonight, I don't want to call it a must-win, but damn, it's a need-to-win game for the Clippers for sure.
I think it's like it'd be nice to win, but we've been here before and no big deal. I think the Clippers have earned my trust, Nick. Like, we've seen Ty Lue make adjustments as the series goes on. The big question for me is, all right, are you adjusting to a team that you haven't seen with Chris Paul? So now do you have to adjust to a brand new team, and does Ty need 2 more games, at which point the series would be over? And I think so. I will believe in the Clippers to a point. I think firepower is the issue because, I guess Terrence Mann can have another crazy game, but I actually think that was because of a defensive sort of mind melt from Quinn Snyder rather than, it was a spectacular performance, but I just don't think Monty Williams is going to allow that to happen again. Reggie Jackson, who averaged 11 points in the season, had 24 in game one, and they still lost. He also had 27 to close out the Jazz. He had 22 in the previous game. So Reggie Jackson, we are seeing an extreme version of Reggie Jackson, just like we're seeing sort of like Paul George play at his best. But with all that being said, I still don't think it's enough.
Well, and I also think we're seeing, and it's a nice reminder after a couple years without it, I think we're seeing the impact for the first time since before COVID of full home arenas. The Clippers absolutely do not come back from 25 down in the second half without Staples Center sounding, I believe, the loudest it has ever sounded for a Los Angeles Clippers game. And you're seeing a Suns team that thus far this postseason has lost the game I'm referring to, or I'm sorry, game 2 of that series against the Lakers. They've lost one game at home, and that was with Anthony Davis as healthy as he ever was, and LeBron knowing it was a must-win. Aside from that, this team has been dominant. Like, the Clippers can feel good about this fact, that it was the first game the Suns had played in nearly a month where they weren't up by around 20 at one point in the game. Like, the Clippers were in it throughout. But I just look at what the Suns did and I say, do I think Devin Booker can go for around 40 again? Yes, I do. And do I think that the Suns will be better when Chris Paul gets back? Yes, I do. And so you know how much I love Ty Lue, Jenna. But one of the things that happens with adjustments is you need to be playing a team that is adjustable against. Meaning there's got to be a weakness that is there to exploit. The Suns have pretty defined roles. They have a healthy roster. They don't have, it's not like, oh, they can't go small. Oh, they can't go big. Oh, they can't do this.
Sure.
They do everything at least a B+ level. So that's really hard to adjust against, Jenna.
But here's what the Clippers have that maybe shouldn't be as daunting. They've been in this position before, so that's not terrifying to them. They've done it twice already this postseason. And they have the one thing that you talked about, which people aren't really talking about, is the importance of Ty Lue and how he keeps everything steady. It's okay to be down 25. It's okay to be in these scenarios without your superstar, Kawhi Leonard. He seems to keep everything even keel. And for the Clippers, I feel like that's a huge advantage. No, they're not afraid of the position they'd be in, even if they were to fall down 0-2.
Well, I don't think they're afraid of it, but just because you're not afraid of the bear doesn't mean he's not going to rip your head off. And, like, sometimes fear can be good and can be healthy. I also think, Wilds, we maybe overreacted in the singular moment. We were live on the air when it found out Kawhi was out. And we had like 7 minutes to talk about at the end of the show. And all of us, I think, Brandon held out hope for the Clippers, but you could tell he was anxious about it. We said, okay, without Kawhi, this team has a very limited ceiling. Now, they've exceeded that ceiling, but I think it would be foolish to act as if that we would have been looking at this Clippers team as a championship-level team if Kawhi Leonard wasn't on it. And so, for the time being, Kawhi Leonard's not on it. And when we talk about them, if they were to fall down 0-2, tell me if you agree with me, Wilds. I am far more confident, even as much of a black box of information as Chris Paul's COVID protocol has been, I'm far more confident we are going to see Chris Paul in this series well before we see Kawhi Leonard in this series. I'm not sure if we ever see Kawhi Leonard in this series, given his history with lower body injuries, how cautious they've been, and how cagey they've been about what he's actually dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, it's always sort of an odd projection to try to figure out what Kawhi Leonard is thinking. But I'll offer one up anyways. I think him watching James Harden come back and him watching Kevin Durant kind of rise to an occasion kind of stokes his competitive fire. So if he can come back and say, like, you know what, I'm not going to take the long-term view on this, I could see it. And one other caveat, Jenna, although I am not a doctor, I am an expert on sneakers and streetwear from NBA players. And Kawhi was in shorts and New Balance 880s. Not officially his basketball playing shoes, but however, they were sort of like a shoe that you can sort of move around in, popular in 1989. So I am starting to feel confident that Kawhi will come back, according to my New Balance research.
Okay. Kevin Wilde's
that's good
a
to know.
wealth of useless information.
I mow
And
the
again,
lawn in
Brandon's
those
going to be
shoes.
joining us momentarily. We're having some technical difficulties with him.
Look at the
Hey,
green
we're
ones,
back
dude.
talking some Tom Brady.